When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everybody, my name is Jose Pro, Man-Made Survival, and thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. I need your help sharing this information because this information is very, very important. If you have followed this channel for any length of time, you know how everything has progressed and incrementally gotten worse and worse. So I need your help with sharing this information. I want to point out that in the last 12 days, over 100,000 infections have been added to the list throughout the world. Right now, the world coronavirus count is 211,853 with 8,724 dead. Out of those numbers, the United States is 7,324. And that number has increased, greatly because, especially in the last week, mainly because now they're testing people. Now the tests are available for people to drive through, get swabbed, and then the next one goes. So that's something that has helped. And now that there's a lot more tests to go around, is the reason for the increase. In the next week or two, we might see it go up even more. But, that's yet to be seen. But it's more likely it's going to go that direction. In Italy, there's 35,713. And so the things have gotten so bad in Italy that there was about 10,000 student doctors that they told them just go ahead and forget about the final exams and just go ahead and go to work because they need them. Because the medical system in Italy is collapsing. And they're predicting that in the next week or two, it's going to happen the same thing here in the United States. And the medical system is going to collapse. That's the reason why the federal government went ahead and implemented the emergency powers so they can shift nurses and doctors from state to state depending on how bad it gets throughout the country. Iran, 17,361. The Iranian leaders have said that they believe that millions of people will die from this in Iran, which is very, very devastating. And let's hope that the WHO and other countries will come together and help them out. Germany, 11,302. Germany's Prime Minister Angela Merkel said that 50% to 70% of the country would be infected. So it looks like it's headed that direction because the numbers in Germany have also exploded. But let's hope that they take the same measures the United States has so they can fight this and keep the numbers low. And that's something I want to point out. If the United States had not taken the measures taken right now, it could be a lot worse than what it's going to turn out to be. So let's hope that these drastic measures do help and it keeps everything low, because otherwise, this came out of Cuomo's, the mayor of New York, or the governor of New York. He said that 214 million people will get infected. That's two-thirds of the United States. 2/3 of the population more than likely would get infected. So let's hope that this helps out a lot. In Spain, 13,910. Just in Spain, all right, that we're going to have the Mobile World Conference, and it's a good thing that they canceled it because a lot of people from other countries would come in, they could have gotten infected and taken it back to the countries. And not only that, the people in Spain would have gotten it and everything would have been a lot worse. So let's be grateful for that. I don't know what South Korea is doing because their numbers are staying low at 8,413. Whatever they're doing right, they need to share with the other countries so they can keep the numbers low, especially with Iran and France and everybody else. But still, unless, of course, they are artificially messing up with those numbers. But let's hope they're not. France, 7,696. So we have seen how the governments have activated their powers and how they're reacting to this. And right now is the perfect opportunity for every prepper out there and every citizen to watch how the government is acting, how the government right now is your best time to take data on how the government implements their powers and how they use them. Because if they're using this for this crisis, they're going to use the same powers for others. Even though their reaction might be a little different. For example, if there was a nuke that went out somewhere in the United States, of course they're going to act different than what they're doing with the virus. But the point is that those powers are there. And there has been people in the past who have denied that these executive orders exist for, not only for the federal government, for every state. Now they're being proven right, and I'm going to show you why. And also, this is the time for everybody, especially all the preppers, to take data on your neighbors, on your family, on your friends, to see who are the ones that are denying everything. And then when it gets to their city, then they're the ones freaking out. All right, this is where you can see who you can trust and cannot trust, who you can talk to and say, and especially in family members and family, saying, see, this is why we need to come together, prepare for the next crisis, and then that way this won't happen. We all will be set, and then we have nothing to worry about. And right now is the perfect time not only to preach the gospel, but also to get people on board with preparedness. So keep that in mind. Now I'm gonna move to the headlines because they are very concerning. But the good thing about it is that even though they have declared them, they're not using them, to the full extent, really. But here's one of them. Maryland governor orders drastic actions to be enforced statewide by police and National Guard. This from the organicprepper.com. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announcing a series of dramatic executive orders today to prevent the spread of coronavirus. These actions are to be enforced by police and National Guard. According to WBAL-TV, he ordered the following social distancing measures. Shut down all bars, restaurants, gyms, movie theaters, effective starting at 5 p.m. Monday starting at 5 p.m. Monday. Drive-through and carry-out services will be allowed to continue. That's not just Maryland. Now that's throughout the country as well. All the shutdown of all the bars, restaurants, gyms, and etc. Following CDC guidelines setting 50 or more individuals will be prohibited across the state, including social and recreational events and religious and sports gatherings. The number has been decreased to 10. The measures will be strongly enforced. Annie Anorel First Alert reports. Hogan says state troopers and National Guard will enforce orders saying, "We are not playing around anymore." Emergency orders will carry the full force of the law, Hogan reiterated. So they're not playing anymore. They're not allowing people to tell them to be self-quarantine, or just suggesting to self-quarantine, and then they just go out to the store or whatever. It's the same thing we saw in Kentucky. In the past video, I showed how they had a armed guard at a person's quarantine home because they were refusing to quarantine. So the state went and the governor sent an armed guard to be in front of their home and wait for them to clear the quarantine phase. But what I'm trying to point out is that now they're moving to the direction of they're not playing with this anymore, and now they're going to enforce the emergency powers that gives them the ability to force you to quarantine in your home. He goes on to say, "We have never faced anything like this before," said Hogan. He continues citing drastic actions being taken right now. He warned Marylanders the orders may seem scary and sound extreme, but it is absolutely necessary. Hogan has ordered the activation of 250 state troopers for emergency service, 400 Army and Air National Guard, and 1,000 more MD National Guard, as well as 1,200 Maryland Guardsmen are on enhanced readiness status if they are needed. In other words, they're not playing around anymore. And let me point out, this is not for medical use. This is for enforcement. All right, Maryland is gonna enforce the quarantine. They're gonna make sure you don't go anywhere. So people from Maryland, if they tell you to stay inside your house, you better. And I hope you have all the food and water you need so you don't have to go out anymore, and you don't have to risk yourself of getting either a ticket, which will probably be a very hefty fine, or ending up in prison. So be smart about it. Here's another one. Illinois mayor grants herself power to ban gun sales and alcohol during coronavirus epidemic. There's from Zero Hedge. Champaign, Illinois Mayor Deborah Frank Fanning signed an executive order on Thursday declaring a state of emergency to address the coronavirus. Among the sweeping powers she gained after signing the executive order was the ability to ban the sales of guns, ammunition, alcohol, and gasoline, as well as the power to cut off access to individuals' gas, water, and electricity, according to the Washington Examiner. So, and I want to point out also that the sales of guns, ammunition, alcohol, and gasoline is not just from a store to the individual. It's from person to person. For example, if you wanted to, let's say your neighbor needed to run their generator, right? And you had the gas for it and they didn't, you are not allowed anymore to be able to give them the gas can to them so they can use their generator. The sale of alcohol, ammunitions, and guns is also in the private. Like if you want to sell somebody a gun because you see hard times coming or you need the money, whatever the case may be, you are no longer able to do so. And not only that, they're doing it to they have the power to cut off access to individuals' gas, water, and electricity. So if they really wanted to, they can cut off your power, you can cut off your water, and they're gonna cut off your gas. And this is the reason why you need food and water in your home, because if they do that, let's say they did it to an area, not just targeting a specific home. If they did it to an area, then that is the reason why you want food and water in your home. The city can also take possession of private property and order the temporary closing of all liquor stores and bars, which they already have. But the key here is take possession of private property. That doesn't mean just buildings. That also means your home. If they feel like they need your ranch or your resources, whatever you may have in your home, they're going to take it from you. They feel like they need it. Especially if you're one of those that are, raising trouble. So they're going to pick on you. The executive order allows the city to be flexible to properly respond to the emergency needs of the community. Now, none of the options will necessarily be implemented, but are available in order to protect the welfare and safety of our community if needed. So there you go. I mean, they're not saying they're not using it, but they can use it, in the flip of a switch. They can use it out of the blue, and then suddenly you don't know, and you have armed guards in your house trying to keep you from getting out, and now you're quarantined. So if you ever thought that people who warned that the states had this power in executive order to be able to take away all your liberties, now you cannot deny it. It's right in front of your face, and the people in Illinois know it better, especially in Maryland and now California. California preparing for worst case scenario. This is from fox5ny.com. In readying the National Guard for action, Newsom's office emphasized that it's for duties routinely performed during natural disasters and other emergencies. But Newsom grimly added that we have the ability to do martial law if we feel the necessity. Imposing martial law will take the extraordinary step to replacing the usual law with military authority, with the possible suspension of civil liberties like freedom of association and movement. But not only that, the Bill of Rights, any other liberty you think you might have right now, they can take it away from you very, very quickly when and if they declare martial law. And it looks like we're going that direction. Another thing that I pointed out in the past video is that the governor of New York said that he wanted Trump to roll out the military because they needed help, and it wouldn't be unconstitutional because right now we're under emergency. They have declared an emergency, so there you have it. My suggestion would be, since even though these are in place and they're not really enforcing them, there's nothing you really should do. And even if they did, there's nothing you could do unless a group of people came together and they try to do something about it. That's different, which I'm not encouraging it. It's just pointing out the possibility. But the point is that don't fight it. Everything will probably eventually get back to normal. So the best thing for you to do is just hunker down if you can. If you're in a major city and they tell you to move, just move. Don't fight it. Right now they're trying to do the best they can to be able to get rid of this problem. If you live in a rural area, it's less likely that they'll get you to get out of your house. But still, if they feel like they need your resources, your water, or whatever it may be, then either just let them, or otherwise they're gonna put you in prison. So there's nothing a lot of people can do individually. But anyways, something I want to point out right now is that right now is a perfect time for you to practice your scenario. For example, if you let's say you wanted to practice EMP, right? If there was an EMP detonated over the United States, right now would be the best time for you to do so, because you can just turn off all the lights in your house, no TV, no internet, no anything, no cell phones. Just keep the essentials running, like your refrigerator. If you have somebody on a dialysis machine, you're still allowed. But the point is that you can practice those things right now. If you're already at home with your kids and your family, then practice that. Take out your flashlight, see how many batteries you got. Right now is the perfect time to do so. And also, right now is the perfect time to write out your emergency plan, and practice it as best as you can. If, for example, an EMP is in your plan and you think you're gonna have to bug out because of where you live, if you have the ability to do so, you can camp out in the backyard, and you can get your kids to understand that this is what you would have to do if that happened. If you have to spend the night in the woods or whatever. Right now would be the perfect opportunity for you to take inventory of your food and your water in your home. Right now is the perfect opportunity to take inventory of your medical supplies. Your bug out bag. You can go through all of those things right now. And if you're new to prepping, I would suggest that you start off with an inventory of your food and water. That would include everything in your refrigerator, everything in your freezer, everything in your pantry that's canned or whatever. Right now is a perfect opportunity for you to learn how to garden. If you live in an area where you have enough space to do so, and you haven't done it before, right now is a perfect time to start gardening. Right now is a perfect time to start camping out in your backyard. Try to practice your fire skills, how to purify the water, all those things. Right now is the perfect time to do that, especially since you're gonna be home. And by any means, it's not a vacation. You're taking the advantage. If you hadn't had time to do so because you're too busy with work or whatever the case may be, now is the opportunity to do that. So I encourage you to do so. But anyways, my name is Jose Preppare Amendment Survival. Please share this information. Please like this video, because that will help us grow, and that will help us get this information out there with everybody. But anyways, my name is Jose Preppare Amendment Survival. And like I said, here in Amendment Survival, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.